All right, my friends, welcome back to another episode of the Reisinger Build. That's right, we are obviously getting into plumbing. I got all my pipe right here. Now, this flexible pipe looks like PEX, but in fact, this is PERT pipe. This happens to be Hyperpure from Legend. They're sponsoring this episode. We're using a bunch of products that you may not have seen before that have some really interesting benefits. And on this episode, we're gonna get my buddy Eric Aune, you probably know him as Mechanical Hub, to come in. He's a master plumber in Minnesota. He's gonna spend some time with my plumber, really nerding out on the details. With that being said, let's jump into the plumbing episode on the Reisinger Build in partnership with my friends at Builders FirstSource. Let's get going.
A Build Original Series in partnership with Builders FirstSource. The Reisinger Build.
All right, y'all, we are ready for the plumbers. All my Legend parts are here, and my Kohler tubs, shower valves, all that is here. By the way, if you're watching this and you're not familiar, before your plumber arrives, you need to figure out all of your plumbing. I need to know everything about the plumbing in the house. So we picked out every Kohler fixture in the house ahead of time, but remember, we need to have our tubs in place for the plumbers and any valves that are going into the wall. Let's say if you have a wall-mounted faucet, that's gonna be all of your tubs and showers, things like that. Those valves need to be on site. So all that Kohler stuff is here as well. And one other thing I wanted to mention that I did that's a little bit different on this house, we're in the master shower here, and we lined these walls with Advantech X Factor. This is basically a fancy 3/4 plywood. But you'll notice what we did was I had the framers recess it into the stud base. So this wall right here, which is a plumbing wall, we made a 2x6 wall. Most of the time your interior walls are 2x4 walls, but don't make a mistake like I've done in the past where you put a bunch of plumbing in a 2x4 wall, especially like shower valves and sinks and things like that. You need the space, the plumber is gonna need the space. So instead of a 2x4 wall, this is a 2x6 wall. What we did though is we sunk a piece of 3/4 plywood in. So now before the plumber comes to put his shower valves on this wall, the plywood's in place. The benefit of that is really so that in the future, if I need to add a grab bar for whatever reasons or aging in place, things like that, I've got solid blocking all over the house for that. And we're not trying to fit that in later. And we also didn't take space out of the shower by lining the walls after the framing was done. Now, Legend has a really interesting couple innovations, and we're gonna see that when Eric and the plumber show up. We're gonna talk about these specific things, but this is a PTC job, a push to connect job, and we'll get into the specific features in these fittings, but we're gonna let Eric Aune do a little bit of a takeover in this episode. So let's go check out Master Plumber Eric Aune and see the progress on this plumbing project.
All right, thanks, Matt. All right, I'm gonna go check on what's going on with the plumbing. Oh, Wade, how's it going?
I got some stuff for you here.
Oh. All right, Wade, so this plumbing installation is still happening throughout the entire house. They're doing water distribution now, something I'm very familiar with, but turns out, maybe I don't know all the details. This isn't actually PEX tubing, is that correct?
It is not, correct. This is Hyperpure PERT. So Hyperpure is our brand name, that's Legend's brand name. This product came out in 2015. It's manufactured here in the United States, manufactured in Auburn Hills, Michigan. So what is PERT? Well, it's polyethylene raised temperature. So very similar to PEX, it's a polyethylene. The difference is PEX is a polyethylene cross-link. So it gets its strength from a post-production treatment that gives it that rigidity.
Either chemicals or light or things like that,
chemicals, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the resin itself is a 2399, it's a Hypertherm Dow manufactured resin, and it's a bimodal resin, right? So it gets its strength and rigidity from the actual resin. There's no secondary process involved. So the nice thing about that is this also makes this product recyclable, 100% recyclable, whereas PEX is not because of the cross-link chemical in there, right?
Okay.
So when it comes to thinking about your polyethylene pipe, this is extremely rigid, extremely strong is what we call it. So Hyperpure is pure, strong, and workable, right? So it's got great flexibility.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any concession at all in its flexibility for normal.
Correct. So what's great about it is it doesn't have the same memory that PEX does. So it's a little slower. So you can, that's where the workability comes into play, right? So if you're getting a coil of it, you're going to be able to kind of work it much easier than you're going to be able to work a standard PEX.
So what sizes are you distributing HyperPure in?
So generally speaking, it's available in 1/2 inch through 2 inch. We can make different modification sizes, but that's our general portfolio of products, 1/2 inch through 2 inch.
And this, I saw they're using coils of it here on this job site. Is that how it's being distributed out in the marketplace?
You know, it comes in sticks, right? It comes in bags of 20-foot sticks across all sizes, as well as coils. Obviously, we favor coils, but wholesale distribution, it's a lot easier for them to, have sticks. Plumbers like to use sticks, so absolutely having a portfolio product in that.
Full complement of fittings, but these fittings are different here on this site. You've got some here as well, but this is a new type of fitting coming from you guys called Clear Lock.
This is absolutely. So this is a brand new product launched in 2024. We launched it in May. It's called Clear Lock. So this is a push to connect fitting system, right? What's different about it from other products in the market is it's made of PPSU, right? So that's polyvinyl sulfite, sulfone, I should say.
That's the same material they make regular PEX fittings.
Correct. Every PEX fitting you've ever used, it's made of the same material. The difference is the resin composition is opaque, right? So you can actually see through it.
So you can see through it. So I've got a piece of 3/4 inch right here, and I've got this 3/4 by 1 T.
Correct.
And if I push this together, I should be able to see the tubing in the fitting. And that, because I can see it, I don't have to mark the insertion depth.
You no longer have to mark the tube. And that's the unique part about this, right? So plumbers all along have always had to mark if they're using a push to connect system because they couldn't see internally where it's going. So like all cuts, it needs to be properly cut square, cut plumb, right? Stick it in, you no longer have to measure it. Why? Because as you're pushing it in, you can clearly see it goes right to the stop. Like, it's done. I don't have to measure it.
Okay.
So it's a speed and effectiveness for using it, and you also have a confirmation that it's a completed fitting. Right?
I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna mark it. I don't know if I like this whole thing.
Well,
it's new to me.
It is new, right? And so plumbers are slow to change, right?
That was easy. No, it's cool that you can see that, and that's the whole behind the marketing, calling it Clear Lock because it makes sense. It's locked on there. Are they reusable?
They are absolutely reusable and removable, right? So here's a 1/2 inch fitting. I'm just messing around with some HyperPure 1/2 inch. I put it in there. So this is a standard push to connect fitting removal tool, right? You push down on the locking mechanism and just, there you go, just like that, right? So this is removable. We say up to 12 times. It can go far more than that. But the reality is, you can damage it over time. So rather, use it for a couple times.
Removable, basically, if you have to kind of reset where things are being installed.
Correct.
Yeah, that's kind of the purpose of removable. Of course, we see the caps being used on all the stub outs here. That's probably the #1 fitting sold for the push to connect market, right?
Absolutely, that is #1. We've seen a high volume of use on that already.
And then speaking of fittings, though, you've got a whole complement, pretty much anything you're going to need.
Correct.
For
we have
standard
27 different fitting configurations right now. Predominant mix of different reducing T's. Right, we have a number of adapters in there, and of course we have standard elbows, couplings, standard T's.
Yeah, absolutely. So one last question. I'm always trying to get technical and just know how things are rated. There is a specific rating system, ASSE 1061, for push to connect fittings. Okay,
correct.
And so that covers whether or not they can be put behind walls, the pressure and temperature ratings that they're operating under and certified to, whether you can bury them, all that kinds of things.
Correct.
So first and foremost, what is this rated for temperature and pressure?
So it's a 200, so it's 200 PSI, right? And it's a 200 Fahrenheit temperature rating right now. So it matches way beyond what's required for a portable system. Correct.
Yeah.
In terms of the 1061 code for burying it, right? So it can be buried. We recommend, because there's a stainless steel collar on that, and it is stainless steel, we still recommend wrapping it. It's just a good practice because it is metal, and you never know what it's going to happen with the ground.
Yeah, you need to protect it basically from the soil.
You do, but it is stainless steel. So but we just recommend it's more of a it's a liability, right? So if you put it in there, you're fine. Wrap it, you're good. Now, in terms of 1061, of course, it can go behind the wall. You don't need an access panel to get to it, right? And that's the nice, and especially with this, so you're plumbing a job site like this, a brand new construction, you're putting it in place. you close up that wall, you're good. You know you got that fitting squared away. It's not going to be leaking down the road.
Right, right. Interesting. You talked about the flexibility of PERT, and so this is 3/4, and I'll be honest with you, I know I have like superhuman strength because I'm a plumber, but just to consider how easy that is to flex.
Absolutely, right? So it's got a 5-bend radius, right? But basically PEX does too. The difference is its workability, and you can see that as you're messing around with it. Of course, yeah, you've got some big pipes there, but in general, it's easy to work with. Yeah,
I like red and blue tubing. Do you have other colors?
We have red, white, and blue. Yeah,
red, white, and blue.
Correct.
America.
Yeah.
You extrude this in the United States?
Made in the USA.
Where at?
Auburn Hills, Michigan.
Oh, cool. I'm going to visit the place someday.
Hey, that sounds like a plan. Yeah.
All right, Wade, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
There's so much going on in this job. I got to get to the next one.
Got it.
Boy, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Eric. How you doing, man?
Good, good.
I thought electricians were allergic to brooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never
I guess
seen
we'll have
you-
to pick it up afterwards. Huh?
Yeah, probably. You're right. All right, so we've got a heat pump water heater here on the Reisinger build project. This is really cool. A little sexier than I'm used to seeing water heaters look.
A lot sexier, man. A lot
Yeah, so
sexier.
tell me about it. What is this and where is it going to go?
So this is LG's dual inverter heat pump water heater. That's going to go into this closet right here.
Really? I thought you had to have a lot more space for a heat pump water heater.
So it depends on how you're handling your makeup air for the water heater, right? These things, because they are heat pump, they need air coming in and they need air going out, right?
Okay.
They're gonna breathe. So 700 cubic feet is what's recommended if you don't have a way of essentially airing out the closet.
You can do that with like a duct kit or
Absolutely.
louvered doors, things like that?
Absolutely. Louver doors, duct kit on the top, duct kit on the back to exhaust the air, bring air in. In this case, I think what we're going to do is we're going to use that cool air, dehumidified cool air off the back, and we're going to disperse it to the rest of the house to kind of help add a little bit of capacity to our cooling because we are in Texas.
Yeah, that'll work really well because spreading out that cool dehumidified air is going to be comfortable. You're not really going to worry about that.
Absolutely. It's an extra half ton of free cooling, so we can always use more cooling in Austin, that's for sure.
So are we putting this in a closet just like to get away from looking at it? Because like I said, it's pretty nice looking. Or is it just simply because that's what we're doing with utilities? What about just access to it?
So we're putting it in a closet because that's typically what we do. This
Okay.
unit can be installed out in the open. Kitchen, bathroom, I mean, it's like you said, it's a sexy looking unit. It's stainless steel and black. So it is designed to be out in the open living space as well as be able to go into a closet. So it's really versatile. As far as access goes, we need about 18 inches room on the right-hand side, and that gives us access to everything we need to service.
So your piping connections with the heat pumps are on the side because of the compressors on the top.
Correct.
Okay, that's normal. I'm used to that. You've got different modes of operation though with this. I would imagine there's some kind of hybrid between heating elements and the inverter heat pump if needed, or just the heat pump. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so these units are a little bit unique to what's already on the market in that not only does it have the dual inverter compressor, which is your primary mode of heating the water, but it also has a bottom 5 kW heating element and a top heating element as well. So when this unit runs in turbo mode, we need to be able to recover the water faster if we're coming back from, let's say, vacation, right? This unit has a vacation mode that just maintains a low temperature, you know, for those situations where, hey, you don't want the thing to freeze up or something like that. So if we come back from vacation, we need to put it back to our heating operating temperature. We run the bottom element with the compressor. So it's not one or the other. Both run together simultaneously to get that water hot quickly. But if we, let's say we have a bunch of people coming over for Thanksgiving and we just need to use a lot of water, now we're using the top element so we get that hot water to the pipe faster rather than worrying about the recovery. Because our compressor is taking care of the recovery.
Does LG officially call that party mode? Because if they don't, they should.
No, we call it turbo mode, but I like the party mode. I
like
might have
party
to talk to
mode.
marketing about that.
Yeah. Okay,
that's a
so
good
intake
idea.
on the top, exhaust on the back. So you'd have to consider that when you're looking at a place to install this.
Yes.
On new construction or even for retrofit, of course, especially if you have to do ducting. You talked about the turbo mode, the changing modes, things like that. What if I'm, going on vacation, I'm standing in line at TSA and I'm like, crap, I didn't turn my water heater down. How do you do that? Can you interact with it Wi-Fi?
Absolutely. So these things, just like majority of LG appliances, are Wi-Fi enabled and are controlled through our ThinQ app.
Okay.
So we can control anything LG in our home through a single app. Simple user-friendly interface, lets you register your equipment. It's easy. It's literally take your app out, scan the QR code, it connects it, downloads all the information you need, sets it up, and registers the product for you as the consumer for the warranty.
Very cool. This is gonna look nice in here. I'm interested to see it once it's piped up. Voya, thanks so much, man. There's a lot going on in this job. I gotta get to all of it today. So I do appreciate your time, guys.
You're a busy
I'll
man.
see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark, what are you doing over here?
Lining up something I've been hiding from you all day, Eric.
So we're standing in the laundry room. Right above us is a bathroom group.
Yeah,
And this is the waste stack right here.
it is, and I'm so excited because it's the passive water heater recovery booster, right? And so I love passive, you know that.
Yeah.
I love gravity. It hits me all the time.
Yep.
You ready?
Yep, I am.
Boom!
Oh, quite the reveal. I love it. So this is a drain water heat recovery system.
It is.
It's called a thermo drain.
So this is specifically designed because you're adapting the water temperature from the ground, right? And you're slightly changing the delta enough that you have to heat the water less.
Okay, so let me restate that. We're raising the water temperature going into the water heater, so we're saving a slight amount of energy. Is that what you're trying to say?
You say it like you've done this more often.
I feel like you're just so technical when it comes to talking about stuff like this. Let's go over a couple things, though, that I know that I learned from Intertech, the manufacturer. So this is a dual wall heat exchanger. I'm going to explain what that means. You've got type L copper that's been flattened, okay, so it increases the surface area as it comes in contact with this 3-inch copper pipe inside. Dual wall meaning if one were to leak, it won't cross-contaminate into the other.
Yep.
All right, so if this drain pipe leaks, it's gonna just fall on the floor, okay? We're gonna have a leak, it needs to be repaired. If this water pipe leaks, it's also not gonna go into the drain, so they can't cross-contaminate either way.
That's 3-inch too. Look at how easy that connects to the PVC.
Yeah, so they're using what we call mission coupling or a mechanical coupling. So it's a shielded coupling with a stainless steel band on it, a couple hose clamps. And it's a transitional fitting because this copper is not the same outside diameter as the 3-inch PVC.
For instance, we're in new construction now, but if we were in an existing house and you were updating your water heater and you had access to the main shower drain, you could actually add this right in, tap it back into your line.
Yeah, and that's a great point. So what we're looking for is an application where this shower piping is going to run through it, right? So typically that's where it's most reliable that hot water is going to be going down the drain.
Right.
We're going to capture that or transfer that heat that's in the wastewater already into the potable water in this 3/4-inch type L tubing.
Type L is what we're used to.
Yeah.
Well, but it's changed because it's flattened. We're not seeing in its normal round state.
Yeah, think of a bicycle tire and how thin it is and how very little contact it has with the roadway, and then think about a car tire, how wide and flat it is, okay? A lot more surface contact. When you have more surface contact like that, it's better heat transfer, and that it's metallic, it's a better medium for transferring that heat.
So this is 32 inches, and that wrapping, do you have any idea how long that is? That looks like it's long.
It's many feet. I don't know the exact specs, but they actually make these even longer. And the efficiency is measured basically in the heat transfer. They're saying the specs that I saw through the third-party testing is that they're raising the water temperature as much as 25, 30 degrees, something like that, somewhere around there. Think of it this way. If you could raise the water temperature going into your water heater by 5 to 10 degrees even, over time, that saves energy. They did some calculations using a family of 4 and a fixed kilowatt per hour rate for a electric resistance water heater.
Maybe you're in California or something like that.
Electric water heater is the #1 style water heater in the entire country. So if you could save on their calculations, they were looking at family of 4, like $130 to $160 a year. So you're not going to get the return on investments aren't going to be immediate. It's not about the one shower at a time. It's about the fact that this thing is made to last decades, and it's going to lower that consumption of power over time.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of security knowing it's going to last decades because it's gone. It's out of sight. It's out of mind. But what else is not gone is your monthly dollars.
Yeah, and that number that they use is actually at a fixed per kilowatt rate. It doesn't even account for increase in costs over time. The other thing that's worth noting is, what else do you see here? You just see 2 pipe connections. See anything else? Any wiring or anything like that?
It looks so simple. I mean, it looks like our friend Mrs. Gravity does everything.
Pretty much. We got water pressure and counterflow through. So honestly, no electrical. There's almost no mechanical things going on here either. You've got a piping connection, yes. You have the mechanical coupling, but nothing is not dynamic. Nothing's going to be moving. Nothing's going to be there to fail.
This connection happens twice. This connection happens twice. Set it and forget it.
Right. It's the Rompopeel of drain water heat recovery systems, actually. Mark, there's more for me to look at on this job. I got to get moving on.
I'm going to go see what's happening over here.
All right. Figure out where I'm at. So mechanical room right here. This must be living room. I said to meet him by the Aquar hose faucet. That's this. Wow, they had to fur that out a ton. Must be to accommodate the siding. This thing is pretty sweet looking. Where's Matt? Matt, are you inside?
Hey, Eric, I'm in here. Yeah, I'll take it from here. Okay, so Eric was showing that Aqua hose bib outside. Have you seen the guts on one of these before? It's a little hard to tell once they're installed what they look like. And we like them because, of course, they're beautiful. They got these really nice black, silver, matte stainless. They got a bunch of cover options. But what I like about them is the guts are super well made. This is a stainless steel hose bib rather than brass. I did a video years ago where I tested to see how much heat transfer stainless on a stainless hose bib like Aqua would transfer into the house versus brass. And I was shocked that on that test, the brass had a lot of condensation on the inside forming because a lot of the cold would transfer into the house. Now, they sell these in different sizes. I've got a 2x6 cavity here, and I've got a couple of inches, 3 inches of exterior insulation. So what you're seeing here where this piece of pressure treated is, this is the very back right here where the connection's made. And I think we're not going to have any problem with these Aquas for a long time, but 3 decades from now, I might need to change this. And I'm always a big fan of helping out the builder or remodeler in the future. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got these OD access panels. You can get these anywhere. Amazon even sells them. They come in a bunch of sizes. And so what I'm going to do is we took a piece of zip from the house that was left over, and we made it just a little bit bigger than the flange. Like, these are made to cut in after the drywall's in place. But on new construction, I want to actually put this piece of plywood up where this access panel will go in the future, with the idea being when I screw this in the wall, the drywall guys will drywall right to this. And then later, let's say when I'm doing trim, I'll pull this off. Now I've got a big hole in the drywall that I can put this access panel on. I actually might go with a slightly smaller size for this one. It doesn't need to be quite this big. But like I said, they make a bunch of sizes. And then, in 2050, when I need to change that hose bib and put a new one in, or there's some issue, it's super easy, number one, to get to it, but also you know exactly where that access point is. So, Aqua, great product, but let's always, no matter what product you're using in the house, let's think about its lifespan and how to replace that later. Speaking of lifespan, let's go check out the Master, because we did a couple other things in plumbing that in this stage might be a little bit different than what you're seeing. So let's go check this out. And the other thing I want to mention while we're walking is, one of the things I've said, I don't know how many times and for how many years, is the biggest rookie mistake I see builders do. The biggest rookie builder mistake is moving forward on your siding before your trades have completed. We want to make sure that all the penetrations, whether it's plumbing penetrations, hose bibs, your ducts like this one over my head here, all those need to go outside of the envelope so that we can flash them correctly. so that we can make sure they're air sealed correctly. And that needs to happen before the siding guy starts. So in my case, you met Bill Wood, my frame carpenter, earlier. He's the same crew that's going to do my James Hardy siding install. That's coming up soon. We've made sure that all the trades are finished. So all my plumbing, all my mechanical, and all my electrical that's poking through the envelope needs to be complete. Now, if they're not complete, the other thing you could do that I've seen some other builders do, I've seen Jake Bruton do this, is he'll go, hey, I've got a hose bib here, let's say. He'll have one of his guys poke that hose bib out, make the mounting block for it, and then later the plumber will connect to the back of it. You could do that. It's not super easy. I prefer, if you have the time in the schedule and you have the ability for that crew to go somewhere else for a little while, send them to the next job, let them frame that house, then have them come back and do that siding package. The other thing that is not complete yet that I want to mention is my plumbers, when they installed all this Legend PERT pipe, you see that they've put insulation here at these brackets, but they haven't come back and insulated everything yet. I really like this detail. This is a great detail. Now I've got continuous insulation. I don't have pipe movement or squeaking if there's some type of hammering action that happens in the pipes. So we'll be coming back, and for sure we'll do all the hot lines. It's nice to do the water line or the cold water lines as well. That's not a must-have, but I do believe that it's really important to go ahead and do the hot lines. And that's something you could do as a builder. Your homeowners could even do that, is come back and do those if for some reason the plumber doesn't spec it. The other thing I want to mention on this floor is, notice I've got my Schluter pans in place, both here in this primary bath and next door in my secondary bath, or in my guest bath, I guess I should say. The reason being is where I am in the city of Austin, I need to have, for my plumbing top out inspection, a flood test on this. And with this in place now, I can flood test it. So I'll put a test ball down in that drain. We'll fill it up to the top of the curb, and we'll make sure when the inspector comes that that water line's right here at the top of the curb, and he can see nothing's leaked out. It's looking good. That's a great double check from an inspections standpoint. Never, as a builder, be really cautious about ever talking bad about your inspectors, right? They're your friends. They're there to help you. Sometimes they point out stuff you don't want them to, but ultimately that's a real big benefit to me as a builder to have an inspection. And that flood test is something that I really like. It's not required everywhere, but I actually like that the city of Austin requires that. I think that's really good. And over the years, one or two times that I've seen pans, not necessarily Schluter, but some other systems, I've seen a leak happen, and man, you're thankful that you caught that leak at that time rather than having a leak after the homeowner moves in. With that being said, let's actually go upstairs. I want to talk to you about a couple of cool things we did on plumbing and the upstairs bath. So follow me up. Okay, let's talk Kohler for just a second here. Let's see if I can show you what this thing looks like. This has got to be one of the prettiest tubs I have seen in a long time. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Kohler cast iron. I love this throwback color. I actually don't know what the color is off the top of my head. It's probably written on there. Chelsea on my team picked it out, but feels like a throwback. I really like this. I had a tub as a kid growing up that was a cast iron tub that had, I forget what it was, pink, something like that. It was probably a 1950s tub. And we've, of course, done white for years and years and years. This is super cool. By the way, if you don't know, these cast iron tubs, they're actually made in Kohler, Wisconsin. I've been to the factory. It's so cool to see these being made in America. And if you've ever done any remodeling, when this house needs a remodel in 75 years, this tub could literally get pulled out from where it's set. You could refinish it, re-enamel it, and put it back in, and this will have a whole nother life. This tub could be here for my great-grandchildren someday in another house even. I really like cast iron. I think for tubs, it's totally the way to go. It's a little bit more expensive than acrylic. Totally worth it. I mean, when you think about a bomber product, these things are incredible. They just last and last and last. Last thing I want to mention on plumbing before we wrap up the episode, do you notice the bend supports that we used on the pipe? I don't know if Eric covered this. I missed when he was talking about that, but I want to point out that I'm a big fan of those bend supports. What that does for me is it eliminates an extra fitting. Not that I'm concerned about these Legend fittings, but I'm concerned about any fitting anywhere being a weakness in the system. So if we can eliminate one fitting, I think that's a really big deal. And you see a lot of plumbers, they want to transition from, let's say, a PERT pipe or a PEX pipe or whatever that's being used in the wall to a copper bullet that comes out. I get that, I understand that, but I'd much rather have no fitting, bend support. Now that water has a nice flow without turbulence. We've got that kind of street 90 effect happening on that pipe with that bend support in there. So it's going to deliver hot water faster. It's going to have less turbulence in the line. And again, it's eliminating that one fitting. And I want to point out the plumbers just did a fabulous job of doing that wherever they could in this house. Like when I was in the kitchen and looking up, I was smiling because I was seeing all of these pipes running off the racetrack that we did for the hot water recirc line. When we get to the end of the project, we'll tell you a little bit about the gothotwater.com system we're using to speed that hot water delivery. We worked with my friend Gary Klein to lay out the plumbing on this house. And I got to tell you, at my personal house that he helped me with, I get hot water like that at all of my distant locations, and I'm not dumping a bunch of cold down the line. So if you want a little preview, go check out some of his papers that he's written online. And he's also going to be speaking, by the way, at Build Show Live. Fantastic speaker. With that being said, guys, let's wrap this episode. We do have a couple of things left to do. We got to set this tub. I think we have one last, or maybe two last Kohler shower valves that are coming. So we'll talk about those in a future episode. Big fan of Kohler products. I really like how they try and make as much as they can in Kohler, Wisconsin. And for me, the big deal about Kohler over the years has been terrific support as a builder. When I need something, it's really easy to get a part or a piece. So I know 10 years from now, if I have an issue, they're going to back me. They're just a terrific company. And I want to say a huge thanks to Eric Ani for joining me as well. Let's wrap the episode outside because I want to show you a couple of details, or at least one detail in particular, when it comes to plumbing that we want to have before we wrap this episode. So I'll see you outside. Oh, hey, Mark, excuse me. Oh, you know what Mark's bringing to the job site? This is our Chandler water system. Kind of good timing. We're actually not going to be installing this quite yet, but this is my water softener, so stay tuned. We'll get into more depth and detail on this. Needless to say, though, we have hard city water here, and it's really important for me to not have issues with scale. So I'm going to put a water softener in this house. However, before I put the system together, I'm going to be doing something special in the garage. We're not going to be using sheetrock in the garage. We're actually going to be putting some plywood up, and this whole garage is getting kind of a special treatment, kind of like I did in my house. So we'll put that up, and then I'll come back to this Chandler on a future episode. In the meantime, let's go find Justin. By the way, the ditch that's happening here is because I need to run my propane lines. I got a buried propane tank in the front of the house. We're bringing it back here so I can bring propane to my fireplace and propane back here to where the shed's gonna be, that I'm gonna have my big Champion 20 kW generator. Hey, there's Justin.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Dude, good to see you at the end of this episode.
I'm back here playing with whatever this neat gadget is. What is this?
You know what this is. Come on now.
Oh.
So my roofer made these for us, and I thought we'd kind of end the plumbing episode talking about this. You know, I mentioned earlier in the video that the biggest rookie builder mistake I see, Justin, is builders that put their siding on and then their trades are drilling through the siding. It's really hard to get a good water seal, certainly hard to get a good air seal, and incredibly hard to keep bugs out too when you're just relying on a bead of caulk through some siding. So I think that builders really need to get the trades through the house first, which then allows me to go, okay, what head flashings do I need to make sure we don't have any water issues on this penetration for the life of the house. My roofer made these. You could make these yourself in the field. Not super difficult, but boy, is it nice to just tell my roofer, hey, come out and make head flashings for me. So he made this, and then Justin, he also made them for these Pella windows in the house, including on this side of the house. We haven't even gotten to this yet in the episodes, but we're doing a thick exterior insulation blanket here. So we bucked out those windows, and he made me a big head flash for that as well.
Something like this maybe, huh?
Exactly. You got it. Now, Justin, we've got coming up here the electrical episode. CJ is coming out from California to spend some time with me. You guys know CJ Nielsen. super excited about that. And your team is actually coming over here for what?
Oh, we're going to be here for Build Show Live in November.
That's right.
So
That's right.
my team and I are going to be here in the house, and what we're really
Right
trying
here.
to do, yeah, in this house. So, and we're just trying to show you how we integrated BFS Digital Tools into just really the pre-construction planning, which was so critical to a correct build.
Yes.
To then showing you the innovative tools through Home Configure, where you can go in here and actually configure the fit and finish.
That's right.
To the neat rendering video we created for you. So just a really good overview of all the digital tools and how you can load it into your business model.
So if you haven't already, sign up at buildshowlive.com. There's a code you can use, BSL 2024, for a bit of a discount. I think it's 20% off or so, but it's not a super expensive show. You definitely want to come and go on the home tour. You can meet Justin. I'll be here as well. You're going to be able to crawl through and see all these mechanicals that we're publishing on this episode. That tour is coming up in, I don't know, 60 days or so from the time of publication. It's in November 2024. And lastly, if you haven't seen the mechanical episode, which we just published recently on the Reisinger build, go back and check that out. Eric Ani also spent some time with us here talking about mechanicals, and it really showed the power of that pre-planning, right? Because all the ducts, the big pipes, and then the small pipes fit through because we pre-planned that and really thought about where everything was going. Justin, I really appreciate your friendship and your partnership. You know, the digital tools that you introduced us to, your platform online, mybldr.com, and for instance, the renderings that you guys produce that will actually help me sell this house, total game changer for me as a builder. With that being said, we'll see you next time on the Reisinger Build.